I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Sparky.
And Salty and Chip.
Shout out to Slipknot for blocking our video.
I know. Yeah, that was.
Appreciate y'all. So we released this one late to try to...
So stop asking us to put official videos.
Yeah, don't ask us to do official videos anymore.
This keeps happening to us, so it's kind of annoying.
Like, I don't care about the copyright stuff where you can't monetize the video, because that's what happens with all the videos.
It's when it gets blocked and it will not go up and we cannot release it. That's when it's a problem.
Right, and it usually happens with official videos.
Yep.
Right, so all of you were saying, why didn't you do the Chester video?
That's what happened with that one too.
The One More Light video. They block all of these official videos, so there's that. Anyway, this is Emperor with Strength I Burn. This is live at Wacken, I think. 2006.
Yep, 2006.
Everybody was telling us to do this, and obviously it's a Vin hack. If you suggest a live show, I'm going to be more apt to agree to your terms. The Blackfire show, we did Blackfire Week last week.
Yep.
Shout out to Mayhem.
Yeah.
I think we're going to shoot an update video about hitting 40,000 subs. I think we're going to do some sort of giveaway. I know we're going to do a giveaway. 40,000 subs is a very important milestone, so probably by the time people are watching this, we might be very, very close to 40,000 subs. So send us an email of what the channel means to you, and we'll pick the winner, and the winner will get a free shirt. So there you are.
VinandSori@gmail.com.
VinandSori@gmail.com. So we'll do that for the 40,000, for the 40,000th, and I want to do something for the 40,000th subscriber. I don't know if we're going to be able to find that or not, but we'll try. We'll try to figure it out.
No idea how to figure that out.
All right, this is Emperor with Strength I Burn.
Go.
Thank you so much. You know now gold. Anthems to the welcome and dust. Please feel free to sing along. This is Strength I Burn!
Life
Oh, that was a ton of people.
Whew. Well, it's one of those music festivals.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's like a bunch of
Everybody turns up to see a bunch of bands.
big bands. That shit
Wow.
was very good. Like the musicianship was pretty crazy. I was really. What did you think of the song?
Well, I don't think necessarily this song was like my thing, but I could like pull out of that and say this is really well done.
I actually
The musicianship and stuff.
I actually liked this song. Musically, I thought it was crazy. There was one part where
I thought it was done and it wasn't done, like that part.
yeah, well, I knew that
You knew that was gonna happen?
Well, there were more lyrics to come, so I knew
Oh,
that
I
they
didn't
hadn't
see
finished.
that, so I was like, oh, it's done. And then all of a sudden he went back to
That part right after the solo where there was like an instrumental break that was really, really good. I remember, actually, I think a kid in our neighborhood growing up when we were really small was a big black metal guy.
Oh, really?
Because like the atmospherics in this one, like I remember hearing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember hearing that. Like, there's this kid named, I think his name was Chris,
Yep.
and it was funny because my mom, we went to this Pentecostal church and they had all this evils of heavy metal. If they would have known about black metal, they would have been like exhibit fucking A.
Yeah.
But like this, like the atmospherics are
Yeah.
going on. Like I remember that like growing up. So I don't know. There must have been a black metal fan in our little neighborhood. But everybody was like, we did. I guess.
Did you not listen to it
none of us
because of
knew
what your mom thought about it?
Well, I just thought metal at the, I was
You didn't appreciate it at
5,
the
6
time.
years old. So
Yeah.
I just thought people were just being
Yeah.
stupid. Like I didn't understand it,
Yeah.
But I wasn't a very big music person, at that age anyway. So,
Yeah.
especially when I first came to this country, I was like, well, we had reggae. You don't have a lot of not a lot of variation over there in Jamaica. Okay, so this is Dark green chaos, blinded I run down these paths, by heart I know them, they lead to the soaring cliffs, stout they stand above the water's edge, lifeless. The dark green chaos, I'm assuming, is the water.
Deep green, dark chaos. Yeah, maybe. I didn't understand what they were talking about in that part.
It's a scene, like this guy's running
Yeah.
down these paths and then
Headed
there's
toward
this
the water. Well, yeah,
cliff,
it's got to be because
and
in the
then
end, there's the boats are there. And stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so I think he's picking up on the motif of the waters of chaos. Mm-hmm. Which...
Genesis 1.
Yeah, it starts off in, Genesis 1, a lot of ancient Near Eastern texts talk, deal with this concept of chaos and how do you bring order out of chaos and all the rest of it. But it seems like Vatane, there's a whole branch of Satanism I don't think Ishan is a Satanist or whatever, but I do think he's picking up on the imagery. He's obviously very intelligent, but there's a whole branch of Satanism that's dedicated toward chaos. So Watane, they're part of the satanic, chaotic, whatever, misanthropic order of whatever, temple of whatever. And then the dude that did Dead Angels Lie, where Dead Angels Lie,
Yeah.
he was part of that too. So
What's the point?
well, if God is the one who
Recognize-
brings order out of chaos,
Yeah.
then they want to swing the other way and have chaos because
Oh, I see. Yeah.
which
makes sense.
here comes the obligatory Peterson reference. But that Peterson talks about if there's too much chaos, that's a problem because you have anarchy. If you have too much order, that's a problem because then you have fascism. Too much order, uniformity, everybody's doing the
Yeah.
same thing. That you don't want that either.
Right. Right,
So
there's a
you want some mixture
spot in the
between
middle there.
order and chaos, but then there are people who are on the fringes on both sides. So for example, if you were to stereotype Christianity, you would say that they're fascistic in their desire for order
Yes.
in a given society or whatever. They have a unifying effect in a sense of uniformity, not unity and diversity, which. Real Christianity is supposed to encompass unity and diversity, and I think I can prove that clearly from the New Testament, where you have, all these different cultures coming together, and of course the central group was Jews, because Jews started the Christian religion.
Yep.
And there was this big conflict of, okay, if you're going to come into our religion, then you're going to have to conform to our culture, our way of life. You're not going to be able to be a Norseman as a Christian. You're going to have to be a Jew.
Right.
And Paul came in and blew all that up. He said, no, let the Africans be African, let the Jews be Jews, like, whatever. Be who you are, as long as you, and the unifying principle was Christ, so you didn't have complete chaos.
Yeah, it was actually the opposite, because Paul was saying, like, that he becomes like the other people so he can actually have a conversation with them. Right.
And so, like, there's a bent, especially in religious people, I would say, to exaggerate order and make everything so uniform, so it's like completely orderly. And then there's the impulse in some forms of Satanism to embrace chaos and to romanticize chaos.
Yeah.
And so he's like, it seems like he's trying to plunge himself into, and of course, the waters of the sea, for some reason, I have an idea and I don't, but the waters of the sea in the ancient Near Eastern mindset kind of is the ultimate symbol for chaos.
Well, I mean, it would kind of make sense. Like, when they first started venturing out into the water, you literally don't know what to expect. And you can start out good, and then all of a sudden the waters can get chaotic, and like, it can get very, very, very chaotic.
Storms.
And you just, when the storms are, and so then they thought, that there was, the gods of the sea and the things in the water, and holes that'll suck you down. They, all these things came up, and I think that the reason that those things came up actually was because they were trying to bring order to the chaos. They wanted to try to understand what the waters were all about. So if we can define it, then it's not so chaotic to us.
Right. Then at the end of Revelation it says, "And there was no more sea."
Yeah.
So it's like John Piper's like, "There's no more beaches." Not one of Piper's finest moments. I think the point of there is no more sea is that you're no longer going to have to deal with this chaos and the unknown and danger and all that. So
not one of his finest moments.
Sorry, Satanists, there's no more sea in the new world, so we're gonna have to find another metaphor for chaos. This is my foundation, cold stone. So he's standing on the precipice of the cliff, looking down, formed only by winds and time. How invulnerable! Yep. That's the cliffs.
Yep.
But they're lifeless. That's a very good idea.
What do you mean? Why?
Because here are these cliffs, and they're these mighty, crazy things.
I thought he's talking about himself being lifeless.
No, he says, "This is my foundation." Because remember, he says they lead to the soaring cliffs.
Yeah.
Stout they stand above the water's edge, lifeless.
Oh.
This is my foundation, cold stone, formed only by winds and times. A cliff is formed by wind and time, like erosion and all that good stuff. So they're invulnerable, but they're also
lifeless. I feel like it's a double. I think he's talking about that, and I think he's talking about himself.
How do you get himself out of that?
Well, maybe that's because my writing style is like that. Saying all this stuff, and then I'll say lifeless, but I'm not just talking about what I'm talking about. I'm also doing a double for myself. So maybe I'm assuming he's doing the same thing. I mean, I didn't write something like this, but the idea is like this.
Well,
I'm talking about something else, but I'm actually using it as a metaphor for myself.
Well, I don't know, because if you look at the next line, it says, "I have longed to be at one with this. Yet the waters call my name." Which is interesting, because if I'm right and he's standing on the cliff, and the cliff is the cold stone and the foundation, and it's invulnerable, it's also lifeless.
Oh.
And then if you look, it says, "I have longed to be at one with this." At one with what?
The foundation and the stability thing. And
right, and then it says the waters are calling my name, right? So the cliffs are the symbology for order.
Oh, right.
Because it's a foundation.
Yeah.
But it's cold and it's lifeless. If you go into the waters, it's teeming and it's full of life and it's moving, but it's also chaos.
Right.
And so he has to choose between the stability of what the cliff affords you, but then you have to trade off life and really living, for living on the stability of the foundation. Or you get to choose life in excitement and whatever, but then you have chaos. You don't have a foundation by which to put your feet down because you're on water.
Yeah. So
the concept of Jesus walking on water then is a very interesting idea.
Right.
right? Because Jesus is saying, I figured it out.
I found stability in the chaos.
I've been able to find a foundation on water.
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot of significant import. Of course, in the Old Testament, in the Psalms, it says Yahweh treads upon the sea.
Yeah. Yep.
And then in the New Testament, you have Jesus, who is Yahweh embodied, treading upon the sea. So that's an interesting idea. Is that the he seems to have a dilemma between, being grounded and then being chaotic. You see this in like a bunch of different, like in Vikings, that's the conflict that Ragnar is having currently. And don't give us any spoilers. We're in season 3, but Ragnar wants to go to Wessex and plant this little community, and they can farm and all the rest of it. And he's like, we can't fight everybody. Mm-hmm. And then the other people are like, what the fuck is wrong with you? We're Vikings. We're supposed to go out and pillage and all this. But what he wants is some sort of foundation and order, where they can constantly farm and they won't have to do that.
Yeah.
But that puts you on land.
Right.
And they're seafaring people. They want to be on the sea.
Right.
And they want to travel in the waters of chaos to go do jihad. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very interesting concept of in human nature, where we're trying to deal with the necessity of order as a foundation, but also the necessity for chaos. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise you get bored, or millions of people end up dead. Right. Because when people desire way too much order, then they start killing people who are anomalies.
Deviate from that path, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And of course it works the other way too.
I was gonna say, but too much chaos creates death as well.
And ends up with a whole bunch of people being killed. I agree. And so the concept then of Jesus walking on water is eminently powerful, because he's saying that there's a way to marry both of those concepts, to have the life and the chaos of the ocean while at the same time being completely and totally grounded, and still having a foundation in the midst of all that craziness. And I think that's a very deep, significant thought process. You think
the answer to that is Jesus? I mean, because Jesus is the one that's doing that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's the point, because what you see is Jesus is walking, and then Peter jumps out and says, well, then let me do it too. Mm-hmm. And so then Peter does it.
Right, but then when he takes his eyes
he has a foundation whereby he can walk on the waters of chaos. But then he takes his eyes off Jesus and looks around at the chaos, and then he begins to sink. So it's like that's the lesson. It's like there's a way for you to enjoy the chaos of the storm in the ocean, right? Where you can enjoy it and like, whoa, this is cool. Like, I'm alive. This is exhilarating, while at the same time having a firm foundation in the midst of all of that. Mm-hmm. And of course, as a Christian, we say, well, the solution is to look to Jesus. And obviously, in the chaotic instances of life, that's one of the things actually that when I was in the mental hospital, they asked it a bunch of different times, and I didn't really understand why they asked it until I started listening to Peterson, when they were saying, they asked in a bunch of different ways, do you get bored easily? Mm-hmm. And I remember as a kid, my mom and stepdad used to fight like cats and dogs, and I remember it got to initially it was stressful, but then it got to the point where I looked forward to it. It was kind of like...
I know. In a weird way, I was like that with funerals.
Really?
Life was so boring. Like, it was the same thing all the time. And so I like because when there was a funeral when I was a kid, it was usually like some great uncle or some great aunt that I didn't really know. So I didn't have to feel the sadness of it. But it would like mix up the day because the schedule would be all off. Because my family was pretty scheduled.
So you like funerals?
Yeah, I didn't, and I know it's terrible, but I always felt like laughing too. So that was kind of like part of the entertainment. Because I didn't feel the sadness of it. So I was there, and you're watching all these people, all these adults cry. And the thing is, because I always saw adults like holding themselves together and very like whatever. And then at funerals, they were like, and now I'm like, well, that's pretty terrible. I should probably cut this out. You guys don't know this about me, but yeah. And then, there would be the funeral, and then everybody would go out, and you'd hear them tell all these stories, and...
Well, he's describing order as being lifeless. Mm-hmm. At the end of both stanzas, he says lifeless. And the idea of invulnerability to some degree is boring. Mm-hmm. And so, boom, here you are. But yeah, it's true. As a kid, I used to look forward to it, and it was exciting, and you didn't know what would happen, because the way I grew up, it's like it could just be a regular fight, and then you could have dinner 2 hours later like nothing happened, or it could be a small fight, and then shit, we're going to a different state, like literally. That's it. Middle school year, everything, boop, gone. So like that type of chaos became life, and for me, my walking on the water at the time was a combination of Jesus and my mom.
Yeah.
You know, my mom, you know, God bless her, she wasn't a very good foundation. No human being is. And then, you know, that's kind of what cultivated
your relationship with God.
My walk with Jesus, because he was a form of stability in all the midst of that shit. But I loved it. And to this day, I'm not particularly sure I would have changed any of that.
You know what's interesting? That is so interesting. Okay, so God was like a form of foundation for you. For me, it was the opposite. Like, life was so like normal, that the supernatural element of God was what intrigued me, was because there was a little bit of chaos involved in that. Because you didn't know what he was going to do next, and we believed in the rapture, so it was like, okay, at any minute he could take us out of this, there could be some excitement tomorrow, maybe in an hour.
Right.
You know?
Well, the rapture is the ultimate chaos element.
Good. You know how I just heard another Christian person say the other day, they were like, well, anyway, my bills are a little bit whatever, but the rapture might happen before I have to pay that back. I'm like, why are these people always saying this?
You know, like in Islam, you know, if you die as a shaheed in jihad, you go to Jannah.
Yeah. Unless
you have outstanding debts.
Really?
Yeah. So the community is encouraged to pay off the debts of the shaheed, so that before he goes off to jihad, so that
wow.
Yeah. Shout out to the big homie Anwar al-Awlaki.
Can the debt be paid off after he's dead? Can you hurry up and pay it?
Yeah. But it's just interesting. It's like
the
Christians are trying to get out of here, and the Muslims are like, die in jihad, pay your debts.
He's not a Muslim. I know he sounds like it. Even sometimes I wonder.
What do you mean it sounds like I'm a Muslim?
You always, like, the way that you talk about the Muslims is always like this endearing
The Muslims.
Yes.
Those people.
But the way that you talk about the Christians is always like bleh.
Well, it's my team. The Christians are my team. Yeah. So, you know, I'm going to go off and whatever. And the Muslims are my friends, so I'm going to protect them.
He's crazy about his friendships.
Those are my guys. I'm going to live and die with them. Forget it. But, like, you know, and then you always have some, you're a leftist practicing taqiyya. You don't even know what taqiyya is. Shut up. You saw something on YouTube. Now you're an expert in taqiyya. Get out of here. Taqiyya.
That's all I remember is taqiyya.
Yeah, taqiyya. Hey, do we have a CIA? They practice taqiyya every day, dum-dum.
What is taqiyya?
We're getting off topic. Taqiyya is basically, you know, Muhammad said war is deception, which is true.
Yeah.
Hello?
Well, yeah, everybody knows that.
And so taqiyya is the deceptive means that you use to, you know, to espionage, things like that, to do jihad, to fight. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that you can go back on your oaths and things like that. For example, in the Battle of Uhud, there was this guy who basically swore in the previous battle that he wasn't going to go fight the enemy. Mm-hmm. So then he comes to Muhammad. He says, "Ya Rasulullah, I mean, I made this promise, but Ya Rasulullah, I want to go fight jihad." And he said, "You can't do that. You swore, so you got to go back next time." See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, there's a very high impetus in Islam about being honorable and holding to your word and all those types of things, unless there's extremely exigent circumstances. So like, these people, when they talk about taqiyya, they're saying your Muslim neighbor who's nice to you and all that is like really like secretly underground trying to establish a khalifa in your little city.
Okay.
And that's what they're calling taqiyya.
Oh.
It's ridiculous. They didn't, you know, it's like, if you want to learn something from someone, talk to the source people.
Don't talk to the people.
Don't learn about Islam from somebody who hates Muslims.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to learn about Satanism or black metal from some Christian.
Right.
Obviously, their perspective is going to be skewed.
Right.
I want to hear what they have to say about it. What are they saying? What do they mean? Why do they believe what is their moral code? I don't want to hear from a Christian what a Satanist believes.
For sure.
But here you have these you know, people from North Dakota sitting in their basements watching some YouTube clip from Jack Van Impe, and all of a sudden they're they're experts on hadith and fiqh and all the rest of it. All right.
Yeah, I hear you.
So anyway, order and chaos and all that good jazz. I've long been one with this, and yet the water's calm. I can definitely relate to that. Although
I bet.
the life I'm living now is pretty orderly for me.
Yeah, I know. I can see you get bored sometimes. When we were out walking the other day, and we brought the kids to the water, I was like, I looked at you, and you looked like, I was like, are you okay?
I was like, X years ago I was, yeah.
I'm like, are you bored?
Once we go full time, then things are gonna get a lot more chaotic for us, and I'm grateful for that. It could be all over the place. We could make this thing mobile. We gotta have a mobile backdrop and make it happen. I'm serious.
We don't even have to have. We can have our backdrop be wherever we are.
Yeah, that's right. For once, I wish to see the entity behind the voice, the face of this seduction, the beauty of my pain. Am I blessed or cursed by thy presence? What is my crime? What is my deed? Is this life my redemption? Shall I repent or proceed?
I thought that was interesting.
What do you think of that?
Well, just, well, first of all, I liked the artistic way you say, for once I wish to see the entity behind this voice, the face of this seduction, the beauty of my pain. I always actually like it, you're not going to be surprised, I always like it when they explain, like, desires in a sexual way, because it makes it seem more like, yeah.
Where's the sexual?
Well, seduction. When I think of seduction, I always think of something sexual. What do you think about? Because I know we're opposites and stuff like that, so. Do you think of ice cream, or?
Well, no, I just thought about it like seducing, drawing you in. Not
yeah, but
necessarily.
what word, they usually use that with something sexual, right? Or do they say, okay, well, seduction to me sounds sexual, and
You're probably right.
I'm sure I'm right. You
just go ahead.
Anyway, so I just like that, the beauty of my pain. So it's kind of using like that language to explain what's going on. But then when he says, am I blessed or am I cursed by thy presence? It's like that whole like, like when you're kind of like, wait, is this good? Is this not good? Like, is this where I should be? Should I like repent or should I keep going with this? Like, kind of like that crossroads where you're like, which should I, you got to either go forward or go backward, but you got to figure out which one you're going to do and then do it with all your heart. But
is this life my redemption? That's an interesting line.
Yeah.
Like I'm pretty certain that he hasn't allied himself with any, like religious whatever. I haven't heard anything about him being a whatever. Like Vatain is pretty obvious. Behemoth is pretty obvious as far as like Satan is an archetypical principle of whatever. But it's an interesting concept. Is this life my redemption? Redemption from what? What are you being redeemed from? Shall I repent or proceed?
Yeah.
What do you need to repent of? So it's like, which entity is he talking to? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He wants to see the entity behind the voice, but he's not very sure of the nature of the entity that he's talking about.
Not really sure what that entity really wants.
Yeah, is it a blessing or a curse that you're in its presence? I think that's probably the most. When I see people like doing dark music, like I get the inversion principle. You're gonna invert everything from Christianity, but it's like there doesn't seem to be an understanding that. What if this is a malevolent spirit who hates you, and wants to destroy you? Like, there's this whole concept of the devil, and go ahead.
There was that one song. What was it, the Black Wizard one or something?
And the Black Wizards?
Yeah, it was that one where the entity kind of turns and he's like bringing them down and feasting on their soul. And
no, that was Freezing Moon, I think.
Oh, it was Freezing Moon.
Or he's freezing on the souls of his victim or whatever. But this person is saying, what if I am your victim? See what I'm saying? Like, what if this dark spirit is an actual curse and not really a blessing? Yeah. But
how's that not the same thing?
Because on the one hand, he's the dark wizard that's feasting on people. But in this one, he is the person and he's saying, I'm reaching out to this entity, but I don't know if this entity is good or bad.
Right.
Right?
Well, no, I'm saying, because you said, it seems like that there's nobody that is thinking about it like, what if this is a bad thing? Well, I'm saying the Black Wizard thing was...
Well, the context of the Black Wizards, it was
he was
good.
Doing his thing, and then it turns out it was a bad thing.
Well, no, it was good because he was exercising his power over people.
Yeah, but in the end, he got feasted all over, right?
No. He didn't get feasted on.
Which song was that?
He was feasting on the souls of his victims.
There was one song that in the end, he was the one in all the Black Wizards. You're wrong. Carry on.
He was the one in all the Black Wizards?
That's why it was like, I am the Black Wizards or something like that, right?
Yeah, he's like, I am them.
Right, because there was all these Black Wizards, all these people that were doing their thing, but he was the force inside of all of them.
Yeah.
Controlling them, right. So you're saying with this one, is he, you said it seems like none of them are thinking, like, what if it's a bad spirit? Well, I'm saying in that song he was, because it seemed like,
he was a bad spirit, but he was the one in power. In this one, he's not the one in power. There's somebody above him.
Yes, but when the Black Wizards were going around doing their thing, they thought that they were in power, but there was actually somebody over them.
Yeah, but they weren't the protagonist of the song. The protagonist of the song is this dark principality that was ruling everybody.
Okay.
Whereas this guy is saying he wants to engage in some spiritual force, but then he's not particularly sure if the spiritual force is going to be a good or a bad thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas the other guy, he was bad, but at the same time, he was the one in power. So it's kind of like watching Ragnar. We know that Ragnar is bad, but he's also the protagonist, and he's the one in power. Mm-hmm. It'd be like if Ragnar was worshiping some deity, and then you find out that Odin really isn't a good guy. Mm-hmm. That's what this song is saying to some degree. And you see it in the next line. He says, "I hate my flesh; its dimension poisoned with my soul with doubt." Mm-hmm. So right above, he's wondering, he's questioning himself. Then he says he hates his flesh because of the doubt that it creates. Which is so interesting to me because it's like, religious people, like it seems like people who don't hold belief make it their life's work to instill doubt in religious people.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that a lot of times.
Under the guise of, hey, open your mind, you might be wrong.
Yeah.
Of course, I was talking to a guy in email, and we were talking about something, and he said, I will never even begin to accept an idea that God could be responsible for X, Y, or Z, or would be the solution to this question, or whatever. And it wasn't like God is a solution to your problem. It was a logical kind of thought experiment. He said, I will never do that. And so I said, well, doesn't that make you closed-minded? If you're gonna completely dismiss an entire category of thought, that makes you close. And it's like it's interesting to me that I don't see a lot of like atheists / agnostics who have the self-awareness to doubt their doubts. Look, there is a very convenient world that gets created when you have complete and firm belief. Mm-hmm. Because like we said, it gives you a foundation for chaotic times.
Right.
It is also very convenient to be full of doubt because it affords you the opportunity to pretty much shape life in any way you'd like to make it. So both sides are gaining something from their belief or non-belief, mm-hmm. but it doesn't seem like a lot of folks who go after believers have the understanding that they're benefiting from their non-belief, and how many of them are actually doubting their doubts. Like, what is in you that has a propensity to doubt? Right. Do you think nobody comes to conclusions about anything purely based on logical syllogisms? Mm-hmm. Anybody who thinks that is out of their mind. It's just silly. And I love the self-awareness here. His flesh, the weaknesses of his human nature, have caused him to doubt. Now, what's interesting is it made me question the essence of the I, because I'm pretty sure that one of the foundations of Satanism, or whatever, is the I. Like the self is the pinnacle of everything. Slaves are those of this world given freedom to lay chains upon the master. The wolf is no longer free. Release the chains that come from me. So the doubt in the supremacy of self leads to being a chained wolf, basically. Mm-hmm. And then in the picture, there's this ship with 36, basically, monks.
I actually like the way that they said that.
3 times 12.
Yeah, in numbers.
So that's 36, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like 3 6s. 3 and 6, 6, 6, 6, 3 6s. I don't know if that's what he was doing with the numerology, but mm-hmm. Some of these guys, like in Thelema, numbers are extremely important.
Yeah.
So I don't know what 36 means in this world, but he accepted, and away they sailed. So this is the narrator who's narrating what's happening. So there he is, he's on the cliffs, and then he says, release the chains and come for me. They come on the ships, and that ship is interesting when you think about order and chaos, because it's a little bit, it's sort of like a
little island of order within the chaos.
Right.
Interesting.
And unless a storm comes in.
Yeah.
It's not as stable.
The chaos is really extreme.
It's not as stable as Jesus.
No.
Right? Because Jesus is walking on a stormy sea, and they
were in a boat too at one point.
Right, they're on a boat.
And the boat was being all tossed around, and they were like, "We're gonna die, wake up!" And then Jesus goes and calms the thing by a word.
So he rebuked the rebuke the storm.
Right.
So this is interesting. In these monks, and then upon the seas where I drowned so many times, I scatter the ashes of destiny. Still, my flame is in hunger.
So he's still not satisfied.
Well, yeah, he gave in to chaos, and it's fucked shit up in his life. I'm sure, living the rock star lifestyle. Forget about it. And he's still hungry for all. With fire in my heart shall I greet these shores ahead, though I know not what will burn. Desire, there it is.
So now he's going back to he wants to go back to order because he's looking at the shores.
Well, he's going to the shores.
Huh.
But then again, it's that it's that constant conflict that he can't get out of. He's in this loop, and that's it right there. Desire. I hear the waves wash over solid ground, and in this moment I am struck blind. That is interesting. Because there it is. The waters of chaos are washing over solid ground, right? You know what's...
Wow, that was beautiful.
What's interesting is we just got done watching an episode of Vikings where Athelstan gets struck blind, and then he sees again and he's born again, and that motif happens with Paul. Paul is actually in the midst of the waters of chaos because he's going around destroying all of these churches, and then he gets struck blind. And then, grant me sight so I can see that which lies ahead of me. Cursed be my mortal eyes for dying in this realm of death. Hear my call. I return to the soaring cliff. They truly shine of strength, even though I nothing learned. With strength I burn. So,
wow.
So he ends up back
where he
on
was.
the cliffs in the solid ground.
Why does he say he didn't learn anything?
Because he's gonna
go back. He knows he's gonna go back.
He's gonna do it again. So the desire within it, with strength I burn is the title of the song.
Wow.
And you see desire there. I highlighted it, and so that's what keeps this guy in this loop, and he's learned nothing from it. Which is hold on, we can't see Salty. There you are, Salty.
Excuse me.
Which this guy is extremely self-aware. He did the same thing in the other song. Remember that song and it had the 80s kind of style to it? You don't remember. It was during Black Metal Week. It was Ishan. It was the same guy. By the way, these guys are on tour with Navel Viscars. Check it out. Yeah, he had the similar issue, like dealing with himself and all the other stuff. So yeah, with strength I burn because he's burning with desire.
Yeah.
He's burning with desire for things, and it doesn't matter what it is, like women, money, power, drugs, violence. Yeah, it's true. And all those things, like, you indulge in them, they will introduce a bunch of chaos into your life. Watch all. So I thought lyrically this was brilliant. It was a very brilliant and very honest track. And this guy's a deep dude, man. But he seems extremely conflicted. Very, very conflicted, and he's hidden his conflict in some very fantastical lyrics that I don't think people really see what he's talking about. And the other thing too is when he's putting out, like, musically, the way he comes across, he doesn't sound like somebody who's in a conflict. He sounds strong and he's going for it. Yeah, he's camouflaged a lot of angst. Yeah. The main singer. Oh, I really like the way that he did the singing part too. Like. That surprised me. I didn't know that was coming. Well, I was blown away by that. The keyboardist in the back was doing that, and he was kind of doing backing vocals at that point.
Oh, it looked like.
But he himself can sing too, because in that other, he did a side project, and he did a decent job with singing. These guys are good live.
Yeah.
I love to see that windmill headbanging thing.
Yeah.
Like, especially now, because like the Scandinavians over there and Vikings, like
Yeah.
it'd be like if they had a band,
Yeah. That's what they.
Tell me more, tell me more. All right, what do you give the song?
Probably. Well, now that we did the lyrics, I'm probably 8.7.
This is a 9.3 to me. This is a probably one of the most brilliant ways I've ever seen a person describe their conflict. And
You did a very good job.
You've got to be a particularly gifted. This guy's. I'm amazed about how gifted these people are.
Yeah.
They are insanely gifted individuals. Like, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable to me how gifted these guys are. All right, 9.38. Vin out.
I give it an 8.7.
Okay, 9.3, 8.7. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
I'll space so you can have your beloved in there.
Waters come